Welcome to our in-depth exploration of the profound messages found in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29. This chapter is home to one of the most cherished verses in the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11, but its significance extends far beyond just one verse. Let's delve into why this chapter is so impactful in the Christian faith and how it relates to God's promises throughout the Bible. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11 NIV. To truly understand the depth of this promise, we need to consider the historical backdrop. The book of Jeremiah was written during a critical period in Israel's history, marked by the Babylonian exile. The Israelites had been conquered, their temple destroyed, and they were forcibly taken to Babylon. It was a time of immense suffering, displacement, and uncertainty about their future. Jeremiah, a prophet chosen by God, had the challenging task of delivering God's messages to the people during this tumultuous time. In chapter 29, Jeremiah writes a letter to the exiles in Babylon. This letter contains God's instructions on how they should live in their new circumstances. God tells them to build houses, plant gardens, marry, and seek the welfare of the city where they now lived. These instructions were surprising and perhaps difficult for the exiles to accept, as they longed for a quick return to their homeland. Within this context, God's promise in verse 11 stands out. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. The statement emphasizes God's sovereignty and omniscience. Even in the midst of their exile and suffering, God had a plan. He was in control, and his plans were ultimately for their good. God's plans are described as ones to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. This highlights God's benevolent nature. His intentions towards his people are kind and loving, even when they are experiencing hardship. This assurance of prosperity and safety speaks volumes about the character of God as a loving father who cares deeply for his children. This promise of a hopeful future is a recurring theme throughout the Bible. In the New Testament, Romans 8:28 echoes this sentiment, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This verse reaffirms that God's plans are for our ultimate good, even when we face trials and tribulations. Similarly, in the Old Testament, Proverbs 3:5-6 encourages trust in God's plan. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This passage reinforces the idea that God's guidance is reliable and leads to a prosperous path. Jeremiah 29 also teaches about seeking peace and contributing to the welfare of the place where one finds oneself, regardless of how unfavorable the situation might be. This instruction to pray for and seek the prosperity of their captor's city was a call to live out their faith in tangible ways, influencing their environment positively. In the New Testament, Jesus reinforces this idea of influencing one's environment positively. In Matthew 5:14-16, he says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." This call to be a light in the world mirrors the instruction given to the exiles in Babylon. Jeremiah 29:11 also provides a foundation for understanding God's faithfulness. In Lamentations 3:22-23 we read, "Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." This passage reassures believers that God's faithfulness is unwavering and his mercy is renewed daily. Moreover, the promise of a hopeful future is further confirmed in the book of Revelation. Revelation 21:4 offers a vision of ultimate hope and restoration. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This ultimate promise of a future without suffering reaffirms the hope that God's plans are leading towards a glorious future. In conclusion, the profundity of Jeremiah 29 lies in its message of hope, trust, and divine sovereignty. It reassures believers that God's plans are always for their ultimate good and that he is in control, even in the midst of hardship. By reflecting on this chapter and related promises throughout the Bible, Christians are reminded to trust in God's promises and to find peace in His sovereign will, knowing that He is always working for their well-being and His glory.